So yes, I fell in love with the guitar player, and broke up with Dennis. And I guess I went home. I went. We broke up, and I was living at my parents' house for a while. And the guitar player was living at his parents' house. We were both still very young, and he was a little younger than me actually. But anyway, this guitar player got a job playing with John Prine. Backing up John Prine, and a guy named Al Bonetta was a manager at the time, and he had this apartment on 2 East 82nd Street, which is across the street from the Metropolitan Museum and Fifth Avenue, and it's like this. It was like a rent controlled situation. It was like $220 a month, and it was like unbelievable. And he let us live there because he was moving to California, and he gave us the apartment, and it was just really this incredible, like, beautiful brownstone apartment right across the street from the Metropolitan Museum. I used to jog around the reservoir. You've seen that in a lot of movies where people are jogging around the reservoir in Central Park, and I mean, people didn't do their laundry there. They didn't do their laundry. They used to throw their clothes out. Joe Namath was next door. Jackie Onassis. I mean, you're talking, and we're living there. Meanwhile, I was really in love with this guy, and whatever, and I said to him, look, I still write great songs with Dennis. I love you, but I'm still writing great songs with Dennis. So I kept my writing relationship with Dennis, and I'm living with this new guitar player. I mean, this guy who's my new boyfriend. And he didn't like that at all, but I demanded that, Dennis and I still had potential to help, have a career or whatever. And he wanted to write with me too, and we did. And but he started playing a lot with he was a very great guitar player, so he started getting a lot of gigs and going out of town. And I found myself, in this apartment, like, alone all the time, like, and picking up his underwear and having no money. Like, in other words, like, all of a sudden, like, what happened? I don't have a career anymore. So I did try to put a band together. And I actually did something that's really crazy. I had Dennis in the band and the new boyfriend and a bunch of other great musicians. We played all around New York whenever he wasn't on the road or whatever, and trying to get my thing moving, and get my career back again. And these guys all went on to be very big time producers and session players. I mean, they were great musicians, and we were really good. But it was really crazy because everybody said, you're crazy. You have your old boyfriend and your new boyfriend in the same band. It's like, how do you do that? And it really didn't really work out very well. I tried, but, it was like, forget it. But the thing is, it was a really hard thing because I was like, I totally was so in love with this guitar player. But then all of a sudden, he's not there. And then when he is there, I'm picking up his underwear. And I'm just became this, like, chick, who was living with this guy, and it was like I didn't have a career, and it was like all of a sudden it was like I said, well, what happened? What happened to me? And he really, he was making not great money, but he was making money, and he would just leave, and I didn't have any money. I was like eating peanut butter and going to my parents' house. I mean, he just didn't leave me any money when he used to go on the road. So it was like really, I felt really like I used to walk around the streets of New York like going, what the hell happened to my life? I just gave up everything for him, and it got crazy, but it's really crazy because this place was like this rent-controlled apartment. So when Dennis used to come over, and we used to write, on the piano and stuff, and there were these people that lived upstairs. They were called Mr. and Mrs. Smoke, and I swear to God, there was a long hallway, and then, it was like a railroad apartment, a little kitchen, a little bedroom, a little bathroom, and then this really nice room that looked out over Fifth Avenue. It was beautiful. And the piano we used to play. So all of a sudden we'd hear this bang on the door, boom, 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 and the paint chips would go all over the place. And I'd come to the door, and it was like Mrs. Smoke from upstairs, and I opened the thing, and I would see this face like, and she goes, do you have any water? And I went, no, what do you mean, do I have any water? She goes, I don't have any water. And I haven't had any water in years. I said, well, we have water. I went and checked the water. I said, we have water. She goes, you're making too much noise. And she was like, her face was like she was just crazy. She banged on the door, and I just said, oh my God, this place is crazy. It's like, and so she just left, and we used to see her husband, like, One time, me and the guitar player were standing outside of 2 East 82nd Street, and we were kissing. And Mr. Smoke walked by, and he saw us kissing, and he went, "Disgusting." And then he just kept on walking. It's like, I don't know, it was a little bit of a crazy thing. I mean, obviously the pipes didn't work, and they were all the way on the top floor, so they didn't have any water. So she used to come down and go, "Do you have water?" You know, she used to always go crazy because they wouldn't get water. I mean, that's the way it is in New York. You know, if your plumbing's messed up, if you're on the top floor, you know, people downstairs from you might have water and you might not. And that was what was going on. So, anyway, so it was a really, really weird time. Just a really weird time in my life. I was kind of lost. And we ended up finally leaving that apartment and getting this 2,500 square foot loft in Tribeca, which today would cost $16 million. But we got it for $6,000 fixture fee and $350 a month, which we ended up not paying because Con Edison, which is the equivalent, it was the electric company, put a freeze on all the electrical, all the electricity in the certain parts of the electricity, because I remember we had lights, but we didn't have hot water and we didn't have certain things, and they put a freeze on that that area in New York at that time. So we couldn't cook and we couldn't take a shower. So the guitar player, my boyfriend, used to go to a friend's house and take showers, and I used to go to Jack LaLanne and swim laps because I always try to be in shape and take a shower. And we ate in Chinatown every day. We used to be able to walk to Chinatown, so it wasn't that bad. But we dealt with it, but we never had to pay rent because that was part of our lease. That they had to, we had to be able to take a shower in our own. It was a beautiful loft, and there was a piano right by the window. In fact, the loft was Thomas Edison's first factory, actually. And it was a pretty famous building on Warren Street, downtown, off of Canal Street. And there used to be a piano, and I used to look out the window in the World Trade Center. I used to look like I could see the World Trade Center, and I used to write songs all day long there, and it was great. But, it was, it was just a crazy time. He was still going on tour, and I was still sort of lost in this apartment. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and it was like, just a really hard time. And I wasn't making any money, and he was, and just a long story short, it was a very rough time. But one of the things, I got a call one day from one of these guys that I knew from Queens, one of these Italian guys. "Hey, you want to join a disco band playing every weekend on Long Island? You make some money." So I said, "All right, well, I'd like that because I'm not making any money. I don't have a life. I don't have a career. I'm just this guy's girlfriend, And I'm So anyway, I joined this disco band. And I'm not the main singer. The main singer is this Italian guy. I remember, what was his name? Joe. That was his name. And he was a real good-looking Italian guy. But he always sang just a little off, like, it was like, "You'll never find a love like mine." And I was like, "You're gonna miss my love." And that was my job, just to be like, doing. I just sang a couple of leads. But it was like I had to learn all these disco songs, go to the rehearsals, and then every weekend I'd go to these gigs in Long Island and play disco music. This was the disco era. And my boyfriend was out on the road, and I was doing these really stupid gigs. I never did a cover gig before in my life. And but the funny thing is, at every gig, they would all like, "Hey, come on, man, let's get in the van. Let's go in the van. Let's go." So they really just they wanted me in the band, but they also wanted all, what, in the van. I was like, "What are you, crazy?" Anyway, that was a real low point for me, playing in that disco band. I gotta say that was, no matter what I have been through since or before then, I think that was the lowest point. Just, but I'll tell you, when I think of that guy, Joe, singing just a little off key, it was just used to crack me up. But anyway, I mean, it was just such a professional, dip. But anyway, look back on it and laugh. So there you go.